Hey everyone, I'm starting a new series of short videos called Bagpipe Tricks and Tips. My goal with these little short videos is to provide you with some information and techniques that I have used and still use in my pursuit of becoming a better player. I also hope to have some of my top professional friends provide tricks and tips that they use to make this instrument easier and more enjoyable to play. So this is Bagpipe Tricks and Tips, episode number 1, and this is how I go about making a goose or practice goose. I like this way of practicing, especially when you put a practice chanter in there. I guess you could do a goose with a bagpipe chanter, but the idea is that you don't have any drones going or any drones to deal with. I do like doing it with a practice chanter. It's quieter and it's better for playing in an apartment. But what I like about it is that you don't have the awkward transition when you know how to play a tune on the practice chanter and then you get on the bagpipe and you seem to be, taking quite a few steps back. So I think that this little technique helps to kind of make that step from practice chanter to bagpipes a lot less of a pain. And if you practice a lot on the goose, I think that you'll find there really isn't that awkward transition of being able to play on the chanter, practice chanter, and not being able to play it that well on the pipes. So I'll show you what you need. Okay, so what you need is obviously a bagpipe to start with. You're going to take your drones out. I have taken the reeds out as well just to keep them from getting damaged. You'll need 3 rubber stoppers or corks. Those would go in your drone stocks. You'll need some extra hemp, whether it's black, yellow, waxed, unwaxed, it doesn't really matter. Some Teflon tape. Now, I don't really encourage using Teflon tape on your bagpipes, but you'll see why here in a bit, why I think it's applicable to this situation. You'll need a spare practice chanter. If you don't have a hard practice chanter reed, you'll want to get one of those. And I have a chanter cap on there just because I don't like taking the reed out over and over again. So in the next little bit, I'll show you what you do with the hemp and the Teflon tape. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is take your spare practice chanter. And you can see this is hemped pretty poorly. And you'll see why here in just a second. And there's a lot of hemp on here already. I just took a little bit off to show you. Normally, there wouldn't be maybe half as much hemp on here for it to go into a normal blowpipe portion of a practice chanter. However, the hole on the blowpipe portion of a practice chanter is a lot smaller than the hole on your drone stocks. So you have to add a bunch of hemp. So when you add a bunch of hemp, you'll see that this little edge, since there's not a hemp stop here, it tapers down. So you'll have the hemp wanting to fall off. And that's why I use the Teflon tape. So let me show you, just with some last little bits of hemp on here, what you're going to do. Now, it does take quite a bit of hemp, so you want to make sure you have some extra hemp, at least a whole roll. You won't use a whole roll on it, but you're going to want to have plenty on hand to do this. So you're going to put it on here. And obviously check a few times with your stock. Hopefully I don't bump this camera. Okay, so that's pretty secure in there. But what happens is, let me snap this hemp off of here. What happens is the hemp gets compressed down the more times you take it in and out of the stock. And inevitably, when you take it out of the stock, it pulls this hemp down here. You can see even me just brushing that did that with that bit of yellow hemp. So I like to use the Teflon tape for this particular application to keep that hemp from sliding around and making this more of a pain than it is a tool or a trick that you can use, or a tip, if you will, to make playing easier and more enjoyable. So just a couple wraps of Teflon at the start and then down the whole thing will help to keep that hemp from moving around. So I really would be very upset if I saw this on a bagpipe like this, but since this is just a practice thing, I'm willing to accept it. A lot of times I see a lot of poor hemping, and that's why drones slip and they don't stay in place. So again, nice and secure. It doesn't have to be as tight as a normal chanter because you don't have the sort of pressure on it. So I said that you're going to need an extra practice chanter reed. And that right there, when I pulled it out, is exactly why you really don't want to use Teflon on your bagpipes, because it does do that. And you definitely don't want that, you know, above your tuning pin or while you're trying to get ready for competition. But again, for just using at the house or for practice, it's not a big problem to just smooth it back down. But I said you need an extra practice chanter reed. I think I said that you definitely need an extra practice chanter, but an extra reed is nice. And the reason I say you need a harder one is that the tendency is to squeeze too hard with the bag, and an easy practice chanter reed will shut off. I have good luck with Abbott and Gibson reeds, both being a little bit on the harder side. So you just set it up like a regular, you know, practice chanter reed and stick it in your chanter stock. Now all of the drones have been corked off, or the drone stocks have been corked off. So we're only dealing with the practice chanter. This allows you to figure out what position you need the bag to be in to be the most comfortable for your hands, especially your top hand. So this is a great tool to use to, like I said, overcome the transition period from practice chanter to drones or to whole bagpipes. And it does allow you to become more comfortable with where the bag is at under your arm. Okay, so here we have our fully assembled Goose. The corks are in the drone stocks and the practice chanter is in and ready to go. Another advantage of having a little bit harder practice chanter reed is you don't have a bunch of squeaking and squawking while you're blowing it up, because obviously a practice chanter doesn't take much air. So if you have an easier reed, it sounds like this the whole time you're trying to get it under your arm. Where if you have a little bit harder reed, you can get it under your arm just as if it were a bagpipe. And another thing that you can do with this is, although this doesn't take much air pressure or arm pressure to have the practice chanter make a sound, you can stop blowing and squeeze for a very long time with your arm. Once your arm goes from being out here where the bag would be fully inflated to down here, you're actually squeezing pretty hard. But because you have a lot of time, it allows you to accommodate to that with your fingers. So that way you're not flexing or squeezing with your forearm, and you're squeezing more with your upper arm or your chest. So you're better able to learn how to relax your top hand and have better top hand movements. So I'll show you how long you can play without blowing, and you guys can give it a try. That's about as much as I can get. The bag is almost totally deflated, but even at the end there, I felt my arm shaking. I was squeezing so hard, and it really gave me the time to focus on how to make this top hand looser. I hope this helped you guys, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments.